Bang! Neves Knives. I'm Jared, and today we are going to go through each knife company, and I'm going to pick my favorite knife from each knife company. Now, some of them are harder than others, so I'm going to go through the easy ones for me, the ones that I already know are my favorite right from the beginning, and starting with Artisan knives. So my favorite Artisan right now, and the one I've carried the most, has been the Artisan ARION, whether we're talking about the large one or the mini. Both of them are great options, or great knives, and they have a lot of options. So this comes in lots of different variants. Like even this one comes in a liner lock version, a budget version. This one's the titanium frame lock version with S35VN. But lots of options with this model, and I do like it quite a bit. Now there is a new Dylan Mallory knife out that I think could possibly replace this one, but I have not had it in hand long enough. I've only tried it at Blade Show. But anyways, let's get to the next one. So the next one would be CJRB, which is Artisan's budget line. And my favorite CJRB is the CJRB Scoria. I do have a couple different versions of this. It does come in a few different options. My favorite one actually is the G10 one, even over the micarta one. The micarta one is great. I do have a micarta version, but I don't know. This one's just been my favorite one. It has the ARRPM 9 steel, which in this case on this knife has been great. Took an incredible edge. It's lasted for a good while. Multiple deployments. We have thumb studs and the flipper tab, and it somewhat looks like a budget hinder in a way. Very slim in the hand, titanium pocket clip that works great, and yeah, it's just been a great option, or a great knife. Next is KANSEPT. You guys probably already knew this was coming. My favorite KANSEPT by far is the KANSEPT CONVICT. This is a sheepdog design, which I'm starting to find out that I really like sheepdog designs. It just seems like every knife that I get that is a sheepdog design, I wind up liking a lot. And this one, especially this one, the double thumb stud version of the Convict, because I do have the thumb disc version, which is only one-sided, so there's nothing for you to flick on this side. That version's great. I do like it a lot, but this increases that knife times 5. I mean, it's just so much better. They put a sharpening choil in here, which I love. It's a great example of a sharpening choil. Then they put double thumb studs on here. They took away a couple screws from the back spacers. Super comfortable, ultra smooth, great detent and action. The build quality is phenomenal. S35VN blade steel, and it is a Wharncliffe. Such a great knife. Next is QSP. QSP, the Penguin. I think I like the titanium frame lock version even better than the liner lock version, but I actually don't own the titanium frame lock version. I'll probably wind up getting one eventually because I do like it that much. But even this budget option, which is super affordable, is such a great knife. This one has the denim micarta D2 sheep's foot blade. It's kind of like a modified Wharncliffe, you know, and in between a sheep's foot and a Wharncliffe because it is a perfectly straight edge. Amazing clip. This clip works so good. It actually insets behind the denim micarta and then screws in from the top. Really good clip. Great action. This one is on washers, and you would think it was on bearings. Mine is super smooth, but the frame lock version comes on bearings and has a different steel. Next is MEDFORD. The Slim MIDI. I love the Slim MIDI. Hands down, my favorite MEDFORD. It's just so smooth. It is riding on bearings. The reverse flick and detent are great. The action's amazing. It is very slim, very slicey. Nice thin blade stock. Hand done hollow grind. The satin finish is so good looking on this. And it is an S35VN, at least this one is. They do come in other steels though. Flamed titanium clip, and then we have the falling leaf pattern on this one. Now, my one big complaint on this is the lock bar access. Oh, it sucks. I wish they would have cut one of these notches out, or at least cut this back a little bit, but I still love the knife a lot. And it has internal or external stop pins, as you can see. That does make a nice strong lockup. Really cool sound too. Next is Benchmade. Benchmade makes a lot of great, amazing knives, and there's a lot of them that I love. But the Benchmade GRIPTILLIAN has been my most carried by far, and I love this blade shape. It's such a good blade shape for EDC, specifically the sheep's foot one with the hole too. Now, this one has the FRN scales, and there are lots of different aftermarket options that you can go with, but it's overbuilt, it's tough, it's solid, it's went through everything I could throw at it. The Omega springs have never broken on this one. Even the mini version is awesome. And I love the acoustics. And I know it's because of these FRN scales. They make this hollow thwack sound, but I love it. I absolutely love it. And these are a bit dusty and grimy on the inside, though. You know what? And speaking of dusty and grimy, let's talk about your dusty, grimy faces. Now, I do want to shout out TIEGE HANLEY for sponsoring this video. They make uncomplicated skincare for men. In all honesty, guys, I use this product. I've been subscribed to them for months. I do like this product. Like I said, I use it, so I'm definitely going to recommend it. I think it's important for us in the community, us guys in the community, to take care of ourselves, including our skin. TIEGE HANLEY makes it super easy. They give you a card on the inside of the box, which gives you all the steps, directions, even down to the amount of each product you should use. They have a 30% discount code if you do subscribe, which you can pause or cancel anytime. And like I said, I think it's important for us guys in the community to take care of ourselves, and who doesn't want healthier, younger looking skin? You can start with level 1, which gives you the face scrub, a face wash, an AM and a PM moisturizer. Level 2 adds on an eye cream, and level 3 adds on an eye cream plus a super serum. Doesn't matter which one you guys get, as long as you guys are taking care of your skin. Check out the links below. Next is Hinder, and that is the Hinder XM18 Skinny with the sheep's foot blade. Now, I really like my 3-inch non-flipper. I really, really do. I love, love, love that knife, but I like this one even more. Since they slimmed it down, it's slicier, it's more comfortable in the hand, it's easier to carry, it feels a lot more wieldable. It's not shorter in any way, but it almost feels it just feels so much more wieldable. It really does. And the choke up spot's really nice. I love this blade shape. One of my most favorite blade shapes. It just works the best for EDC and everything I do with a knife. This one has a great detent, super snappy action. I did round off my flipper tab a little bit because it was a little pokey, especially with a nice strong detent. Thumb stud action and flipper action. This does have the tri-way pivot, so I can switch it to washers or Teflon if I want to. And this one has the fat carbon show side, which I do actually have the regular carbon fiber, regular micarta for this knife as well. Love it, love it, love it. 20 CV, and shout out to Mr. Amazing for getting me some of the best knives in my collection by far. And this is one of them. I love it. Next is Spyderco. Now this one's a little tough. I should have probably skipped them, but Spyderco. The Spyderco Mannix. Now, I got to be honest, I can't just sum it down to one, because my favorite Spyderco in my collection is the Slish Bowie. I love the Slish Bowie. I love, love, love this knife. But you can't just buy them. So I'm not going to put it on the list, even though in my collection it's my favorite Spyderco. But the Mannix and the PM2. Now, the Mannix and the PM2, my most recommended knife probably to anybody who just wants to get a one-and-done knife is the Mannix. It comes in lots of different options, lightweights, different steels, has an incredibly strong lock, a reliable lock, a lock that where you can open and close it, and it's not going to wear out or anything like that, and I love that. But The PM2 comes in so many different options as well and allows you to get so many different kinds of amazing steels. Some of my most favorite steels are on the Spyderco PM2. So because of that reason, I love the PM2 because I can get these amazing steels that are heat treated to an optimal range so that I can actually experience the steels, you know, at their best, or, you know, at the best to what a production company can get them to. Anyways, the PM2 I think is probably going to be the best one for most people. However, the Spyderco Chef, which I do not own, is probably one. If you want to talk titanium frame locks, it's their best model. LC200 and steel. It is basically corrosion proof in a way. Maybe not quite corrosion proof, but it's very, very corrosion resistant. Love the blade shape. One of my most favorite blade shapes. It is not real similar, but in a way it's similar to the Spyderco Slish Buoy because of the titanium frame lock. But anyways, I'm going to go with the Spyderco Chef. For probably my favorite Spyderco. I am trying to get one right now. I have tried it, but overall though, Spyderco's best knife is probably going to be the Manix. The Manix 2. It's such a great knife, and it has a really unique lock, even though the compression lock technically is a unique lock too. Next, Miguran. Miguran, my favorite knife from Miguran is the Karaki. Now, they have a couple other knives that I do really like, and they are coming out with some new knives as we speak, so this could change very quickly. But as of right now, the Miguran Karaki, it kind of reminds me of a whippersnapper, the Olamic whippersnapper. You do have a really good front flipper with amazing jimping that works very, very easily. It is a bit tall though, so you do have to make sure you're not holding up here, but very easy to use. The detent is great. The action is amazing, and if you look into these holes, you can see all the mill work they did on the inside of here. It looks really good when you look into the holes because there's so much milling, and it's really cool. But awesome, awesome knife, and it's an M390. Next is CMB made knives. Now, I like a few of the CMB made knives. They make some really good titanium frame locks. Here is the CMB made knives spear, but they also have a knife called the Knight that I also think is really, really good. Their titanium frame locks are super, super well built. I mean, very, very premium quality here. They actually surprised me. And this knife, the action is so good on it. The detent, so crisp. It seems like it just gets better and better and better. The clip is one of the best titanium milled pocket clips. The inlays go all the way through and through. Access to the lock bar is great. Easy to reverse flick. Super comfortable in the hand. But right now, my favorite CMB made knives is the Predator. Just because this is so affordable, and that's not really the only reason. It is a fantastic work knife. I love this knife a lot. I've used it quite a bit. It has one of the best sharpening choils ever because the plunge grind is way back here, so you have all of this to sharpen away. The access lock is incredibly strong. They put nice strong springs in here, so it has a good detent for an access lock. And it has a great clip. Just all around, fantastic knife. Now, they're probably going to make a titanium frame lock knife here soon that I like better. But as of right now, this would be my most carried CMB made knives. Next, TWOSUN. So, my most carried and favorite TWOSUN is the 223. Now, TWOSUN is a tough one because they have probably about 5 knives that I just love. Now, my TS-129 I love too, but mine is actually not doing great compared to a new one. I should get a new one because I bet this could switch a little bit, but I carry this one the most. I have 2 of these, one in M390, one in 14C28N. The action's great. They have a flipper tab that reminds me of a Brian Nadeau flipper tab. great satin finish. Slices really good. Love the blade shape. Love the ergos. The quality of the carbon fiber is really good. Nice beefy titanium frame lock. The clip works great. Just everything works and functions so good on this knife. The milled titanium looks really good. Internal stop pins. Nice strong lockup. These have been super reliable for me. And just as a user, man, this one is the one I pick up the most. Microtech. Now, I know Microtech is known for their OTFs. And their OTFs are probably the most they're known for. They are very well known for making arguably some of the best OTFs on the planet. And they are fantastic. Now, this is the Scarab 2 that has reverse serrations put on it on this mirror stone washed hollow ground spear point blade or dagger blade. But this is an amazing knife that's very, very expensive, and I love it. I love it a lot. This is not mine, by the way. It has a glass breaker on the back, and as much as I do respect the OTFs and how badass they are, my personal favorite knife from Microtech is the manual SOCOM Elite, whether it is the clip point version or the Tonto version. I think this is just one of the most overbuilt titanium liner locks. It does have aluminum scales. Super smooth. It is riding on bearings. I love the action, the way the thumb studs work. It just kicks. And the ergos are really good. It's the one knife where tip down is, you know, a better way to rock it. Now, I could move the clip to tip up if I want, but then I have quite a bit hanging out of the pocket. But love the knife. It's just look at this blade stock. This thing is super thick, super robust. Now, that doesn't help you with cutting, but it definitely adds to the strength and durability of the knife, which this thing is a real tactical knife, in my opinion. This is a great example of a real tactical knife. Let's get to the next one. Next is TRM. My favorite TRM is the Shadow. TRM makes a lot of great knives, or a few, not a lot, because they only make a few great knives, but all their knives are great that they do make, and I like them all. But my favorite, by far, is the Shadow. The Shadow is well, they call it the River Lock, but crossbar lock, 20 CV, G10, titanium, deep carry clip that's inset with flat screws that is reversible. The lockup is super solid. The blade is nice and thin. This thing slices like a champ. The heat treat is done very well on it. Yeah, I love this knife. I carry it a lot. This is my most carried TRM by far. Next is KIZER. Now, KIZER was a tough one. A very, very tough one for me. But I did wind up picking the one I've carried the most. Because when I start thinking about it, because there's so many I like. And there's so many, they make some incredible titanium frame locks. The T1 is one of my favorites. But right now, the most carried KIZER in my collection is the DEVIANT. I just love it, man. The thumb stud action is amazing. It's very, very smooth. M390 steel, deep carry clip, micarta, and copper. Now, I am going to change this because I did a forced patina on it, but it's all wearing off because I didn't clear coat it. So I'm going to do a new forced patina on it with it, and this time I'm going to clear coat it. But we have a two-tone blade. We have a satin and stone washed blade that also adds a little pop to it. Yeah. I love this knife. It feels nice and comfortable in the hand. Oh, and again, it's a sheepdog design. So, you know, there you go. Next, Shuro-Gorov. Now, there's quite a few Shuro-Gorovs that I love. And I do have a couple in my collection. Now, this one is a big one. This guy, it is such a large Shuro-Gorov. The largest one I've ever tried or seen. This one actually does have Vanax and has a titanium clip, carbon fiber with titanium lock bar on the inside. It has a reverse flicking fuller and a flipper tab. The action is really good on these. It is very comfortable in the hand. This is awesome, but this one's not my favorite. My favorite is the Shuro-Goroff F95 titanium monkey edge frag pattern. I love this one. Not only does it just check so many boxes in an EDC knife because of the titanium frag, I mean, it just looks so good. It's super comfortable in the hand. The action is amazing. My detent is super solid, complete fall shut action. And yeah, just such a great knife. I love this Shuro-Goroff. Now, I love them all, but that one's by far my favorite. Next, Olamic knives. Now, Olamic knives makes some really cool knives. They are kind of mid-techy because they do allow you to customize a lot of them. Now, this one is not my favorite, and it is pretty cool. Really good snappy action. This knife comes in a couple different blade shapes, but my favorite is actually the Whipper Snapper. I just love this knife. It's such a good little EDC, not including the fidget factor is amazing on it. It's so fidgety, so fun to just flick and mess with. The blade shape's great for EDC. M390 sheepsfoot blade. Now, they do have another blade option for this one. Titanium, and this one has the green anodized hardware and the insides of the holes polished. But there is a lot of different options with this. That Mohawk from Flipper just works so good for flicking or for thumb flicking. You can do like all the little tricks with it. I just love it. And the reverse flicking hole lands in a perfect place to snap open. Love the Whipper Snapper. Next is Real Steel. Now, technically, my favorite Real Steel is the Real Steel Button Lock Griffin in 14C28N with aluminum scales. This is such a great knife. It comes with needle bearings, but they don't make it anymore, so I couldn't put it on the list, even though technically this one would be my favorite. But the one that is available that is my favorite now is this one, which is the Real Steel G-Frame titanium frame lock, White Mountain Knives exclusive. This has titanium and S35 VN blade steel. They do have another more affordable option. I think it's an N690. I believe that's what it is. But awesome knife, super snappy. It does have the wire clip, and it's just super sleek, super simple. Nothing extraordinary. The action's good. It's just super simple, and that's what I like about it. Very lightweight, and you have a full-size knife in your pocket that is super slicey. But, you know, it's not a tough knife or anything like that. It's just, you know, a lightweight EDC knife, and that's what's cool about it. Next is Giant Mouse. Now, my favorite Giant Mouse is the Giant Mouse Ace Grand. This thing it's a beast. I love it. It is a tough knife for a liner lock. It has a nice broad blade in Elmax, and I love Elmax steel. Elmax is such a good steel. This one has the brown micarta, and I did cut out access to the liner because that was my biggest complaint on this knife was the access to the liner. It sucked, but now it's awesome because I did modify it. But the micarta is really good quality. The clip works great. So in the pocket, it carries really good. The reverse flicking action is good. And so comfortable in the hand. The blade shape, it's a straight clip point instead of a curving clip point, which I do like. So it winds up working out good for utility cuts. And yeah, I love this knife. The Giant Mouse Ace Grand. Next, Kubey. Now, Kubey knives. There are so many options from Kubey. I love a lot of them. So this is a tough one for me. But as of right now, my favorite has been this one, which is the Kubey Momentum. Now, like I said, I really love the KU321, the 322. I love so many different Kubeys. But this one, I've just been carrying the heck out of it. I love the fidget factor. The thumb studs work so good. The top flipper or front flipper is also really easy to use. The ergos just melt in my hand. Love the blade shape. It works great for EDC. I love how it kind of rests forward a little bit, so it's easy for me to trap materials. The access to the lock bar is good. It is a false shut action, and yes, deep carry clip, reversible. This has been the one that I can't stop carrying. Next, we're going to talk about drop knives. Now, technically, my favorite drop knife would be the ProTech FERUM Forge Mordax, but I don't have one here. They're not available anymore. They're discontinued. So my favorite one from KAVISO, because it's formerly known as Drop, which is now KAVISO, linked down in the description, KAVISO, is the KAVISO Keen, or Drop Keen, which is a Ray Laconico design. It's just such a simple knife, very comfortable in the hand. The blade shape is a spear point blade shape that works so good for EDC, and the action is really nice. Now, I also really like the Gent, which, is a really, really good knife. I thought I had it sitting, here it is. So the Gent is another option that I also really love, and I love this flipper tab detent in action, but I seem to carry this one a little bit more, so I'm just gonna have to give it to the Keen. And it has a titanium frame lock, titanium milled pocket clip backspacer, and S35 VN steel, super smooth, internal stop pins. So it has a nice strong lockup, and it is a great buy for sure. I specifically like this Stonewash one too, because it doesn't have the tacky feel. It's a good texture on the titanium. Next is Buck. I do not have this knife anymore because I did let it go, but Buck would be the Buck Marksman. I love the Buck Marksman. Now, I know everybody's going to scream, the Buck 110, the Buck 110. I'm sorry, guys, but the Buck Marksman, in my opinion, is the best Buck that Buck ever made. I love it. I think it's amazing. They collabed with G&G Hawk and made an incredible lock. Very innovative, and that one happens to be my favorite. Now, next is Kershaw. So my favorite Kershaw is the Kershaw Bareknuckle. It is a manual knife in 14C 28N, aluminum scales with a sub frame lock, deep carry, reversible clip, and yeah, I think this is the best knife that they've put out in a long time. It's just a fantastic knife. Now, I do think that the Highball XL is another great knife that is a manual knife as well, because I'm not big into assisted knives. I think the more you get into knives, the less you like assisted knives. So they do have a lot of great assisted options, but I prefer the manuals, and in this case, the Kershaw Bareknuckle is my favorite one. The blade shape just works so good for EDC, and this one has been beat to hell. It has been through a lot. Tuya. My favorite Tuya by far is the Tuya Envy. Now, I really love my big belly. I think the Hive's really cool, but I don't own a Hive. But the Tuya Envy 2, the Tuya Envy 2. I do have the Tuya Envy 1 as well. This is a knife that feels even more premium than the cost. Now, it has been out for a little while, but it has almost a straight back, but a drop point dual ground. So it's had a flat grind up here and then a hollow grind right here, which is nice and thin. 15 thousandths behind the edge right here, very, very thin. Great access to the lock bar, very smooth on the drop. A super comfortable flipper tab that has an amazing detent. Just a great overall knife. It's one of the better knives like that for just a flipper knife. As just a flipper knife, this is just a great knife. Yeah, one of the best flippers. Next, Riat. So my favorite Riat is actually the Horizon D. I finally got to try one now. I don't think they even make Horizon Ds anymore. I'm not positive. So this one I am going to have to go with a knife that I don't think they're making right now. Now they also make Leon. They make a lot of other people's knives, but I'm trying not to use other people's knives. I want to use their in-house designs, and the Horizon D and the K2, which this one is the K2. I love the K2. So this is my favorite Riat that I own, but the Horizon D is my all-time favorite Riat. S35 VN Tanto blade with a beautiful satin finish on this dual grind, titanium scales. Now they come in a lot of different options, but they are difficult to get. And then Cold Steel. Now, this is the new Cold Steel Engage with the Atlas lock. I think it's great, and after some more time, it might wind up becoming my favorite because of this locking system. But as of right now, I think my favorite would probably be like the Code 4 or the American Lawman. I really like the AD10 though. It has an incredibly strong lockup. It is insanely overbuilt, and I love that. This thing too, this thing is incredibly strong, very tough, but I still think though that the 8010 out of this knife and the 8010 is probably my favorite, and then the Code 4 and American Lawman are probably, the Code 4 is probably my all-time favorite Cold Steel knife, but they make a lot of different options, so it's kind of tough to pick between those guys. GANZO. My favorite GANZO is probably this one, the FH21, but even the FH41, or no, the FH922, I'm sorry, the FH922. So both of these are my favorites. I love the shape of this flipper tab. It just works so good. These have some of the snappiest detents. They have action that belongs on a high-end knife, except for they're under 25 bucks, or they're at least under 30 bucks. But this one is probably my favorite right now, which is the 21, the FH21, D2 steel. Great blade shape, kind of a drop. It's kind of a mixture between a drop point and a sheep's foot, but I'll just call it a drop point. Good access to the lock bar, very smooth on the drop. The kick from this action, this thing snaps out. So I absolutely love the action on this. Some of the best flipping action on any knife right here. But same thing with this one, the 922. Great action, good access to the lock bar. One of my favorite blade shapes. This is somewhat of a spear point blade. Great ergos, wire clip on this one. So it's between these two, but at the moment, this one just seems to be reigning supreme. Chris Reeves. My favorite Chris Reeves is actually the Insingo. I don't have one, but I love that blade shape. But this is my 21, and I adore it. Chris Reeves makes really good knives, just nice hard-working tools, and I love that. Their tolerances are insane. They're extremely well built, while they're also very simple. They look really good. They function really good. They're very reliable, easy to maintain, easy to sharpen. I did change the thumb studs out on mine, but if I had to pick my all-time favorite, it would definitely be the Inkosi with the Insingo blade. FERUM Forge. So, FERUM Forge has a bunch of designs. They're actually made by We Knives, but my favorite FERUM Forge is the Archbishop 3.0. I did get a BGM regrind on this, and such good flipping action. The detent is rock solid on this, and it's just an overall great knife, and these are back in stock. I'm linking everything down in the description, guys, so don't forget to check the links if you guys do want to check some of these knives out, or if you want to see pricing or anything like that, or any more details, or possibly buy one. It will help the channel if you do. But yeah, this is a well-built knife. Sandwich construction, no backspacer. It's actually both the scales that create the backspacer. The ergos are really good. The sharpening tool is amazing. The action is stupid good. The one thing I'm not a big fan of is the clip, but I got over it. I love the knife, so. But yeah, my favorite FERUM Forge right now, because they're not making customs anymore, so I can't call a custom my favorite because they're not making them, but the We made ones are very, very well done. So, out of a couple companies I don't have, Liang Ma. My favorite Liang Ma is the Field Duty. I love the Field Duty. I do have the new version coming or on pre-order, but I do not have one. Next thing, rake. I think the best rake is the P801. The P801, I do have a bunch of rakes, but I still think the P801 is probably the best one that they have made. It's very, very affordable and just a super, super good knife. I have had them before. I wind up giving them away because they are such good knives. Now, out of the ones I own, my favorite one would be this one, which is the M105TZ. They do have a budget option of this. Great, great knife. Super, super smooth on the drop. Light detent, but it flies out reliably because there's so much leverage. Just crazy comfortable in the hand. Love this blade shape. It is a great EDC knife, and this is probably my favorite one in my collection. But overall, I think the P801 is like their most iconic, and probably their, man, it's arguable because their budget knife of this one is also really good. So, but between the 801 and the M105, or the P105, or whatever it would be called for their budget option. Hogue knives. Now, I'm sad to say I do not have the Hogue RSK MK1 anymore. I did used to have it. The Hogue Deca is probably my favorite Hogue, the Hogue Deca and the Hogue RSK MK1. If I had to choose between the two, I'd probably pick the Deca. But both of them are great knives, so those would be my favorites from Hogue. Demco would be the Demco 8020, specifically the 8020. Now, I love my 8020.5, but most people can't have this because it has a reblade from Transparent Knives. Now, you guys can get titanium scales and scales for 8020 if you use my link down in the description from Original Goat. You can get a discount, and yeah, they make amazing scales for knives, backspacers, and definitely just check them out. Check out the links down in the description. But the 8020 is by far my favorite. Demco, oh, I love this knife so much. Such a good knife. Very fidgety, incredibly, incredibly strong. One of the most strongest locks on the planet, and I love it. Absolutely love it. Now, as far as best techs go, I really haven't had a ton of them on the channel recently. So, you know, for me to label one as my all-time favorite, it's very, very difficult. This is the Best Tech Exploit, and I do like it quite a bit. But I do know Best Tech does amazing OEM work, and I've tried a bunch of their stuff, and they do incredible work. So, you know, there's a lot of knives to choose from OEM-wise, but when it comes to their actual knives, you know, I don't have a lot to reference. The Warwolf was my favorite budget knife for a long time from Best Tech, but that, you know, that's been out for a long time. So as far as now, I just don't have enough of them, or haven't had enough of them to really say which one's my favorite. So I'm just going to go with the Exploit for now. Now, CIVIVI and We, probably the most difficult knives for me to choose from. we'll start with CIVIVI. So with CIVIVI, it's very tough for me to pick between these four. Now, my most carried is definitely the Elementum because I carried it as a secondary forever, and I love it. The Praxis is probably one of my favorite budget work knives, and I honestly think I like to use this knife even more than the Riffle, but the Riffle is just has such a great detent. It's super fidgety, super comfortable. It's a fantastic knife. So picking between the two is just almost impossible. And then you got the button lock Elementum. Now, a lot of people complain that the Elementum doesn't have another option for deployment. You can only use the button, but in use, man, it's just such a fantastic knife. Now, if this had another deployment option, I would probably pick this one. But because it only has the button lock, oh, man, it's tough. But I do love it a lot. So I think between these three, like I said, I carry the Elementum probably the most just because it's such a great backup, such a great secondary. But the Praxis is probably my favorite CIVIVI because just as a work knife and as a tool, this thing functions so good. So good. But man, it's tough. Like to choose between these two, it's very, very difficult. The CIVIVI Riffle is amazing. The action is incredible and it works great as a tool. But I do like the blade shape on the Praxis a little bit more. They are almost similar, but when you actually line it up, like this tip goes higher because it sweeps up a little bit. So I like that this tip is a little bit more, it's more of a spear point, while this one's more of a drop point with a big belly. So anyways, not to beat a dead horse, I think the Praxis is probably my all-time favorite CIVIVI. Then Wee knives. Now, I have a bunch of my Wee knives out right now, but I do have some here. Next is Wee knives. Now, I have a lot of Wee knives, and it is a struggle for me to pick my favorite one. My favorite one in my collection is probably my Malice, but they don't make them anymore. Now, they are coming out with the new Mini Malice, which I have tried, and that's possibly my new favorite one. But I love the Beacon too. The Beacon is such a great knife. The Subjugator is such a great knife. Now, there's one specific one that's coming soon, and I do think that that's going to be my overall favorite knife. I don't know the name of it yet, but I did check it out at Blade Show. I'll tag it up here in the corner if you want to check it out. It has like a carbon. It's a bolster lock, and it has a carbon fiber on the handle. Hopefully, I can find a picture and I'll put it up on the screen. That, when I tried that at Blade Show, it's possibly going to be my favorite Wee. But that Mini Malice with the button lock is another one that's just so good. This is the Coolix right here. The Wee Coolix 20 CV button lock that has been super solid. I mean, just rock solid. It's not a large knife, but I can get a full 4-finger grip. This is another great option. They have so many knives, but some of them are discontinued, and picking one of the ones that are available, it is tough because a lot of them are great. But if I just had to pick one right now, I'd pick that new one coming that's a bolster lock, or possibly the Mini Malice at the moment. But yeah, in my collection right now, probably the Beacon. I jump between the Beacon and the Subjugator. I constantly go back and forth. I can't pick which one I like better. Both of them are amazing. So anyways, if I did miss a company on here, let me know down in the comments which company and what your favorite is from that company. Also, I might not have had many knives from a certain company. That's why I didn't put them on the list, or I just haven't tried enough of them. Kind of like Lion Steel. I didn't put Lion Steel on here because I just don't have enough. I do have the new Karambit that I did switch the clip on, but you know, because people in the comments were telling me you're supposed to switch the clip and pull it out of your pocket this way. But anyways, I just just don't have enough of them. So there you guys go. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Love you guys. Peace.